This is the third roundtable that I looked at on Sunday. This one obviously is this week with George Stephanopoulos.
In our shared mission to make America great again, I support and endorse our Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan.
After waffling all week, Trump finally came around to endorse House Speaker Paul Ryan Friday night, as well as Republican Senators John McCain and Kelly Ayotte, all up for re-election in November. So was it convincing enough for Republicans, and can he bring the party together? Let's bring in our roundtable. You're all laughing. Republican strategist and CNBC contributor Sarah Fagan, TV One host and managing editor Roland Martin, ABC News Cokie Roberts, and our chief political analyst Matthew Dowd. And let's start with you, Matt. I know we were all laughing at Donald Trump's smirk, but he has had a rough couple of days, beginning with the Khan family. He went on from there. Clinton's bounce in the polls. Do you think he's changed? Do you think this has changed anything?
Oh, no. I mean, he hasn't changed. The race has somewhat changed and adjusted. We'll see how long-lasting it is. I mean, before all of this, before the last 2 weeks, the equilibrium of this race was about a 3 or 4 point Hillary Clinton lead. Now the question is it a 7 or 8 point Hillary Clinton lead in the course of this? I think the thing about Donald Trump at that press conference, as I said yesterday, he seemed like a tranquilized circus lion that had bitten too many people in the audience. And then watching him, and I endorse what Speaker Ryan, I mean, it was amazing to watch in the course of that. I don't think the voters care about that. The elites do in the chattering class of the.
But should he be worried now
about the election?
Absolutely.
I don't think you can find anybody that's won the popular vote that's been in this position after the conventions this far down and actually gone on to win the popular vote.
And Giuliani said later that someone else was ahead, but that was before the Republican convention.
Michael Dukakis was quite ahead.
But it was before the Republican convention.
But the other thing is that the numbers in this poll that really struck me, other than the fact that white men have a lot of answering to do, is that cares about people like you. That is a key question. Hillary Clinton was up 20 points on that. And that is often the question that tells you whether somebody's going to...
But let's talk about money, Cook. Let's just talk about money here first. $74 million in cash on hand, raising $82 million last month, he says, including $36 million from small donors. So there's the irony there. What does that tell you?
It tells you that the people who are for him and are willing to give him money. And what it also tells you is that the Republican politicians will stick with him a little bit longer because they're worried about those people. They're worried about his voters. They're worried about his money. They're worried about their base. But you had at the same time Republican columnists and commentators saying your grandchildren will call you wicked if you support him. So it's been a very mixed picture.
Let me go to this. When Trump endorsed Ryan, McCain, Ayotte, he seemed to be staying on message. He really did. So even with the smirk,
I am endorsing Ryan and Ayotte. I love this here.
So
that wasn't convincing.
So have his advisor, maybe, it's a step in the right direction for him. So have his advisors gotten to him? Can he stay on message?
It might last 24 hours. I mean, look, this is a guy who wants to be whiner in chief. I mean, he complains about everything. The issue is this: can he deal with issues? Remember, what did Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell say? He doesn't know a lot about the issues out there. That's what he, at some point, has to focus on. You can wing this thing. You can just sort of talk in broad terms. But at some point, we have to get down to the nitty-gritty. When you talk about care about those everyday people, what does he do this week? He appoints a team of economic advisors. All men, all hedge fund guys. Right. Tell me how that's going to work. Clinton did this in her speech when she broke down where his products are made. If I'm the Clinton campaign, I walk on stage with a cardboard cutout and go, tie in this country, build in this country, and say, you're regular?
And then everybody's going to look back at her clothing. Sarah, what do you...
The challenge is these conventions are an inflection point in this campaign. And this is when voters start to tune in. And the Democrats had a much better convention than Donald Trump. And he has performed incredibly poorly since his convention. And so he is not passing an acceptability threshold. she is such a weak candidate. You saw it again just yesterday where she was stumbling over her answers on how she handled her email controversy.
And what about him tweeting about her short-circuited brainwashing?
Unhinged.
Unhinged, saying that he questions her mental fitness.
Right.
Nobody in America questions her mental fitness.
But they question his.
They do question her honesty.
They question her honesty.
But that's
right.
about unhinged and she doesn't look presidential is totally code for we shouldn't elect a woman.
That
is
well,
exactly
I don't know if I agree entirely with that, but
I was there Friday, okay? Clinton campaign, follow me. Take the loss. You're not going to win this. I don't understand why smart people want to somehow think I can convince everybody that what I did right. Take the L. You're not going to win this one. Just simply say, I made a mistake. Comey actually has come out. We shouldn't have done it. If I had to do it again, I wouldn't do it.
But the broader point
she doesn't do that.
To me, watching the last 2 weeks demonstrates something very clearly, which is when Donald Trump right now is in the news media, he is not doing well. When Hillary Clinton is outside of the news media and not in the press, she rises in the polls. We've seen that for 8 years in the course of her life. When she ran in 2008, when she was out of the media, she rose. When she's in the media, she is an awful candidate. Everybody knows it. The Democrats know she's an awful candidate. She's not liked. She's not trusted. The positive for her is she's running against a worse candidate in the course of. That's why I think we ought to be paying a lot more attention to the 2 third-party candidates in this race.
Well, let's go back a little during the week. We had some disastrous things said in the beginning, according to critics of Donald Trump, and then there was the pushback. Reince Priebus was said to be apoplectic. So what did the Republican establishment do now? Certainly, it looked calmed down at the end of the week. Sarah.
Well, what the Republican establishment are talking about, which is troubling for Donald Trump, is at what point do they publicly and openly start to use as an argument that we need to save the Senate, we need to save the House of Representatives? And those conversations are happening in back rooms in Washington right now because of the way he's performed. I agree with Matt. I think this week was so bad for him. You have an equilibrium that is about 8 points. What Donald Trump needs to do and what they need to be talking to him about is he needs to start to think about passing a threshold of acceptability to get this race closer, to put this in a position where he can be competitive with her by 2 or 3 or 4 points.
But he can do that.
But is the Republican Party falling apart in all this?
Well, they're not happy, obviously, and they are having tremendous battles within the party. And you have somebody like Paul Ryan, where the voters have been so revved up against him by Donald Trump and his supporters that his family is being threatened. Now that's, a terrible turn of events. But I think that Trump can bring it back around. A couple of things can happen. Events can happen in the course of the campaign that bring people to him. She can make blunders that can bring people to him. And the debates can make a tremendous
difference. And what would bring people to him?
And that might be the place where he meets the threshold.
I think the only point left where he can change this race, it's not going to be through television ads. It's not going to be through a series of red speeches that look so out of touch. It's a debate. And the interesting thing now is Trump needs these debates a lot more than she does. I think the first sign you're going to see in what Sarah's talking about is if I were advising Republican candidates, I would say put up ads and put out messages that say, I'm here to stop Hillary Clinton. I'm here to put a brake on the Hillary Clinton presidency. When you start seeing that, that's when you start seeing the freight. And the Republican Party, it's been hostily taken over by Donald Trump. There is no national Republican Party anymore.
But there's something deeper going on here.
The biggest problem is your candidate has to actually have something to say. And so when you have a candidate who still refuses to break down any policy issue, whether it's education, whether it's the economy, whether it's jobs, blanket statements are not going to work right now. It's not going to work, and that's what he's survived on. He goes to those debates, he gets nailed.
There's something deeper going on, and Donald Trump is a reflection of what's going on within the base of the Republican Party, which is Charles Murray wrote this great book in 2012 called Coming Apart, which was a analysis of white America. And you see the great divide that is occurring between college-educated white America and non-college educated white America. Donald Trump is going to win non-college educated whites by a greater margin than any Republican candidate in previous elections. Hillary Clinton is going to win college-educated whites for the first time in 60 years.
Right.
You're shaking your head.
I'm shaking my head about those white voters who are not college educated because you're getting bamboozled. You can't have a guy who's talking about trade and the jobs, and you look at the economic team who, frankly, is totally opposite of what he actually says. So I get the feeling.
Well,
There's an understanding of why there's an understanding. Listen, there's an understanding of why they're going to Trump, right? They've been lied to and misled by both political parties.
And I heard again and again, he's telling us what we want to hear. If I say, do you believe him? They say, maybe not.
For 40 years, they've seen no increase in their pay. For 40 years, through Democratic administrations and Republican administrations.
Black folks say the same thing, Latinos say the same thing.
Which is why Hillary Clinton should be spending her money almost exclusively on get out the vote of minorities and women, and forget all this TV ads. Look at Jeb Bush, $150 million in TV ads, and he got 2% of the vote.
And Kofi, I want to very quickly talk about President Obama this week, who said that Donald Trump is unfit to be president. That's unprecedented.
Well, but we're seeing that from all kinds of people. I mean, you had Mr. Morell on earlier saying the same thing, a former CIA director. You have, you know, and you see it, as I said earlier, from these conservative columns.
Can that backfire?
No. You got two former presidents, both last name Bush, who are Republican, who will not endorse the GOP candidate. Forget what the president had to say. That speaks volumes right there.
I have to say, it's a little Mike Morell and some of the former Bushes who got us involved in the Iraq War, and Mike Morell, who actually apologized to Colin Powell for false information in Iraq War that cost us thousands of lives and trillions of dollars, and who actually defended torture. For him to criticize Donald Trump as being unfit for the most serious errors we've made, I think they ought to just stand down a little bit on that.
But if they've been in that spot, they have credibility, and that plays.
To make huge mistakes like they have.
And
we're going to leave it there. We're going to leave it there. You guys take it out in the green room. After the break.
Okay, so that's the ABC roundtable. I got one left to do. That'll be Fox. This is the fourth. I take that back. This is an interview with Javier Beccara and Newt Gingrich on Mike Wallace's Fox News Sunday with, I'm sorry, I say Mike Wallace, Chris Wallace's show, Fox News Sunday with Chris Wallace. If you want to see a really good debate, you stick Newt Gingrich in there with pretty much any knowledgeable person, and Newt will go down on his shield defending Donald Trump. But even more so than that, he loves attacking Hillary Clinton. Now, Newt is he's been around the block more than once or twice, so he knows how to basically debate people. But Mr. Beccara, he's been around the block once or twice too. So this particular segment of the Chris Wallace show, in my mind, was very entertaining.
It's been a remarkably rough week for Donald Trump. A series of self-inflicted wounds and one poll after another showing him falling behind in key swing states. But on Friday, Hillary Clinton once again stirred up the controversy over her private emails, which is why this race between two unpopular and distrusted nominees remains competitive. Joining me now to discuss the state of the campaign, former Speaker Newt Gingrich, one of Trump's top advisors, and Clinton advocate Congressman Javier Beccara. And gentlemen, welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Thanks. Good to be with you.
Let's start with the two candidates. As Trump has gone from one misstep to another this week, Speaker Gingrich, you have been as sharp as any critic about your man. Here's some of the things that you have been saying about him. Very self-destructive. Take a deep breath and learn some new skills. Trump is helping her to win by proving he is more unacceptable than she is. I know that you think that Clinton would make a lousy president, but is Trump, how close is he to disqualifying himself?
Oh, I don't think very close at all. I think that, first of all, if you look at the last few days, I think he's gotten the messages. He came out and endorsed Paul Ryan, which he should have done in the first place. He endorsed John McCain, which he should have done in the first place. He endorsed Kelly Ayotte. I mean, these are steps back into being, it's very tricky if you've never run for public office to jump from being a businessman to being one of the two leaders fighting for the presidency. And he's made some mistakes. But frankly, the biggest mistake last week was made on your show. And it was, I mean, it's one thing to lie. It's another thing to lie about lying. And then Friday, she gave us the perfect explanation. Her brain apparently had short-circuited while she was talking to you. Well, as George Romney can tell her, using a short circuit as an explanation for why you do something is very dangerous in a presidential campaign. So I'll take the week. I think she managed to trump Trump in terms of a mistake.
Well,
Nah, no, she didn't, but the mistake she made was pretty bad.
That brings us to Hillary Clinton, Congressman Beccara, who has a different problem than Trump. Honesty. Last week I asked her about the fact that FBI Director Comey said that what she had been telling for the American people for a year about her private emails was untrue, was false. Here's how she responded in that interview.
Director Comey said that my answers were truthful and what I've said is consistent with what I have told the American people.
And after independent fact checkers came down on her, here's how Clinton responded to that question on Friday.
I may have short-circuited, and for that I, will try to clarify, because I think, Chris Wallace and I were probably talking past each other.
Look.
No, bullshit. She lied. She's not going to admit that she lied. And her surrogates are in a familiar spot. If you're a Trump surrogate, you can't actually admit the truth, and Becera's not going to be able to admit it either. But straight out, she lied. She needs to say something to acknowledge that what she told the American people was not exactly true. She made a mistake. She didn't know that the stuff was in there, but that it was. Put the damn thing to bed and take that particular topic away from the Republicans, because they are going to live on the damn thing just like they love living on Benghazi.
Congressman Beccara, she didn't short circuit, and we didn't talk past each other. The problem was that Clinton misrepresented what James Comey told the American people.
That's a good word, misrepresented. The translation, she lied.
Chris, what Director Comey told the American people was that after a thorough investigation by the FBI, that of the more than 30,000 emails that Hillary Clinton had provided for this investigation, that there was no wrongdoing. And
no, that's not what well, Chris is going to jump in here. That's not what he said, okay? As a matter of fact, he said there was wrongdoing, but he just couldn't prosecute it.
He didn't say that, but that's not even what I'm talking about. What he said was there was not enough grounds to prosecute her. He did say that she had been extremely careless and negligent, but specifically what he said was that what she had told the American people over the course of the last year was wrong. And this is, let's play what he said on July 7th to Congress.
Secretary Clinton said there was nothing marked classified on her emails, either sent or received. Was that true?
That's not true.
Secretary Clinton said, I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email. There is no classified material. Was that true?
There was classified material emailed.
Congressman Comey.
Oh, okay, so she lied. Just own it and move on. She lied.
Contradicted what Clinton had been telling the American people for a year.
Chris, what you don't also show is that Director Comey said that she had no knowledge of some of those so-called classified emails because they were either not marked or they were not classified at the time, or they were incorrectly marked. And so he did come out and say, you don't show that, but he did come out and say that did not know.
They were marked, and more importantly,
Okay, there were out of all those damn emails, there were only 3 that were actually marked. So Chris is right. There were 3 that were marked. They weren't marked, they weren't titled classified, but within the body of the emails, there were 3 paragraphs that had the small c's next to them, which indicates classified. Now, 2 of them were incorrectly marked as being classified. They really weren't, and the C shouldn't have been there. But one damn sure was marked small c in that paragraph, classified. It was properly marked classified, and she received it and she sent it. So one case out of what, thousands of emails, 10,000, I don't know, 10,000, 30,000. One email out of 30,000 emails was marked classified, And that's really where she should have went. And she's, at that point, 1 out of 30,000 that was actually a classified document at the time that she sent or received it. She could say, hey, I missed 1 out of 30,000. It's my fault. I did it. I apologize for it. And it won't happen again. And people will let the damn thing go. But she is so hell-bent on trying to be 100% right that she's cutting her own damn throat.
Said that there was classified material that she had emailed.
But she did not know it. Otherwise, if there had been the intention to send classified emails, then the FBI would have pursued this much further. And so I think you're trying to make more out of this than what there is.
But
the
that
FBI
was the issue. She
investigated
said, she didn't say, I didn't intend to send classified material.
No,
she said, that isn't what she told the American people. She said there was no classified material.
She has made it very clear that she, looking back at this, she would have done it differently, that she did make some mistakes, but that she never intended to send classified information over emails. And the FBI investigation confirms that. And so while we may want to make more of it, the fact is the FBI has said we should move on and get to real important matters of the country.
But I think you're missing the genius of her Friday comment. Now you can say, did you lie to that mother at Benghazi? She said, no, it was a short circuit. You can say, did you forget the 76 secret meetings in the Secretary of State's office? No, it was a short circuit. She now has a fundamental way of saying to people, it wasn't that I lied to you, I just didn't quite remember whatever it was I was going to say.
What's interesting is after 30,000 emails having been disclosed, what we don't yet know is one tax return from Donald Trump. We don't yet know how his wife gained her immigration status because he won't reveal that as well.
That is not true.
And it's time for Donald Trump to start providing at least one iota of information on his tax return, which he's never agreed to do.
Okay, first of all, we know that his wife had a green card before she met him. She came here legally. She came here legally.
How did she get the green card?
She came here legally.
How did she get the green card?
She applied for a green card. She didn't know Donald Trump.
Circumstances. Because she had been here before she applied for the green card.
And then she came here and decided she wanted to stay and work.
Yeah.
But this is the only immigrant in America you're worried about. No, I think it's amazing that the one person you decided to pick on happens to be the wife of Donald Trump.
Interesting that the immigrant basher is unwilling to explain how his wife, an immigrant, gained her status.
He's not an immigrant basher. His mother was a legal immigrant. His wife is a legal immigrant. He employs legal immigrants. He just likes his immigrants to be legal.
Look, it's great for Mrs. Trump to have her status and her citizenship. I have no problems with that. I'm the son of immigrants. But what does concern me is when some guy goes out and bashes immigrants, not only undocumented, but illegal immigrants, and won't explain how his wife gained her legal status. It's important to know.
I think we have made the point. Let's turn to the economy, kind of a big issue. Here is what Trump says about his plan.
We're going to cut our taxes for the middle class. We're going to cut our taxes for business. We're going to have massive dollars pouring into this country, and we're going to create jobs like we've never seen before.
But Speaker Gingrich, Trump would cut taxes $9.5 trillion over the next decade, most of it going to top earners, and adds $11.2 trillion to the debt with unspecified spending cuts. Mr. Speaker, his numbers don't add up.
Of course not. I mean, I think that historically no candidate said numbers add up, particularly in the media, but...
Oh, so Newt just admitted that Donald Trump's economic plan is bullshit, which that's been going around for a long time. But now they're going to bring up Clinton's plan, which sounds a lot more reasonable. And I'll make a comment after hers is brought up. But Newt Gingrich just admitted that Donald Trump's economic plan is going to benefit the wealthy, and it's a bullshit plan.
Wait, so you're saying his numbers don't add up with his economic plan?
I'm going to have to quote you on that one, right?
Well, I said all candidates. But let me give you an example. If you open up America's energy and mining opportunities, there's at least $7 trillion in potential additional revenue just from making it easier to develop our own energy and to develop our own mineral resources. There are a number of steps you can take that dramatically accelerate the economy. If you dramatically shrink the 600 new regulations Obama has imposed, you have an explosion of small business getting created. In a period of economic growth, such as the Reagan era, you in fact do raise a tremendous amount of revenue.
Congressman Beccara, you can respond to that, but I also...
Breathtaking. It's just breathtaking.
Go ahead.
The plan that you just outlined, which sends money mostly to folks at the top, has been scored to probably lose about 3.5 million jobs by Senator McCain's former economist. It is also very clear that in increasing debt, Donald Trump really meant that he was the, quote, king of debt. And this is a guy who thinks, and his quote was, wages are too high. The problem in our economy isn't that wages are too high, because we've seen a lot of jobs created, some 15 million jobs created in the last 6 years or so. Well, the problem has been that Americans haven't seen their wages go up, and so salaries go up.
President Obama's been the president for the last 8 years. You make it sound like, you know, somebody else's.
Okay, Chris, so now you're being a little disingenuous, because they have been talking about raising the minimum wage for a long time, and Congress has blocked any type of increase in the minimum wage. So you could say he's been the president for the past 7.5 years, but that don't cut no ice if he doesn't have a Congress that's willing to work with him in order to increase the minimum wage. That's my comment.
Been in charge.
The jobs are good. What's not good is that we have to see Americans' wages go up some, and that's what we have to work on.
Listen, but the jobs aren't good. The jobs aren't good. The jobs aren't good. You're not getting manufacturing back. What you're getting back are bartender jobs and service jobs.
Who outsources jobs, right?
Okay, let me stop both of them right there. This past month, we got 255,000 jobs created. Out of that 255,000 jobs that were created, 217,000 of those jobs were in the in the private sector, okay? Of that, we got a ton of service jobs. Now, when I say service jobs, I'm not talking about waiters and hotel workers, etc. I'm talking about service jobs within the financial industry, i.e. banks, within the architecture industry, within the IT industry, within industries that pay very, very well. So we got a bunch of jobs that were created this past month that are going to pay pretty decent money. Moving right along.
Let me ask you about Clinton's numbers, because in fact they do add up. Let's put them on the screen. She would raise taxes, $1.2 trillion, raise taxes, $1 trillion over 10 years, most of that on the rich, and even with big new spending programs, adds only $250 billion to the debt. But as I discussed with Clinton last week, what it is basically is more of the Obama plan. Here's that discussion.
Okay, before he discusses that, now which plan would you rather have? Cutting taxes on the rich and blowing our deficit clear out of the water, and basically increasing our national debt by approximately about a third or so, or raising taxes on the rich, okay, creating a bunch of massive programs that are job creators, and only raising the debt by $250 billion. To me, that sounds like a no-brainer.
More government programs, more spending, more entitlements, more taxes, more tax penalties and credits.
Well, but let's unpack that. What I'm offering is the biggest job creation program since World War II, and I hope to be able.
But it's infrastructure. That's what Obama did.
But he didn't get to do enough.
The problem with the weakest recovery since 1949 is that Obama didn't get to do enough?
We didn't invest in our roads and our bridges and our schools the way we should have. And
we had $1 trillion stimulus plan.
And only a small portion of that went to infrastructure, to investments in our roads, our bridges, our classrooms. What she's saying is, you want to put, my dad was in construction. Construction was one of the hardest hit industries in the 2008 recession. You put construction workers to work, you're putting restaurants to work because somebody has to go get lunch. And you're doing a lot more to ripple that
just briefly.
But yeah, notice what he just said, though. We had a chance. We had $900 billion. We blew it. But now trust Secretary Clinton.
50 million jobs isn't blowing it.
Well, a lot of them are not very good jobs, and a lot of Americans are working part-time.
Only in the world of Grinch and Republicans would creating 50 million jobs after George Bush left us with an economy hemorrhaging 800,000 jobs a month.
You campaign on things that are good enough. We'll campaign on things can get better. We'll see who wins the general election.
Okay, number one, we're not campaigning, or he's not campaigning on things are good enough. Everybody knows that there's a lot of improvement that needs to be done. Now, specifically as far as infrastructure is concerned, it is estimated that this country needs approximately $10 trillion worth of infrastructure work. Okay, $10 trillion. We need infrastructure work done on our electrical grid, which it's been estimated is going to fail. It's just a matter of time. Our entire electrical grid needs to be upgraded, okay? That's number one. We have collapsing bridges and roads all over the country. They all need to be worked on. Now, some states have taken it upon themselves with, obviously, federal money, but some states have taken it on their own to do their own road and bridge infrastructure, Texas being one of them, okay? We need infrastructure work done on our schools. If you know anything about the Detroit school system, that school system is an absolute disgrace. And there are plenty of videos out there for you to go look for yourself to see the condition of a lot of the schools within the Detroit school system. And they're not alone. Say the same thing pretty much about the school system in Los Angeles, New York, not so much here in Dallas, because they've been doing a pretty decent job as far as infrastructure is concerned. Every time I pass a school during the summer when the recess is on, they pretty much on most of the schools some kind of work is being done, whether